Hi, welcome back. I have been receiving a lot of requests for demos in Analytical Designer, which is a very niche skill in SAP Analytics Cloud, which requires knowledge, a good sound knowledge in JavaScripting and a bit of a knowledge in the designer end. So let me show you what I have built. Then we would do a deep dive into the coding aspects. So this is a dynamic layout. So when do we need analytical designer? When we want our layouts to be quite dynamic, like you need some radio buttons or check boxes or drop down boxes, then you need to go with analytical designer is the solution in SAC. So what I've done here is like you have one tile with an indicator which shows you the gross margin, and based on I have different key figures like discounts and gross margins. So I'm going to select discount, and I'm going to select by products. Then the whole screen gets refreshed and you get your discounts, which is populated by the products. And when I click my gross margin, the whole screen gets populated with the gross margin value. You can see your data grids and your bar charts getting populated by the gross margin. This is again done by the JavaScripting techniques, and if you see, I'm going to click location, then your tabular layout, table grid gets populated by your location of sales in the gross margins, and also you get your bar chart by gross margin by different geographical locations. Then I have two checkboxes. One is for visualization by tables, assuming user decides he or she doesn't want to view a table layout, then you can hide those tables. So this is kind of a dynamic activities. So that's why we need a JavaScript knowledge, and that can be used in the designer. Then we have charts, similar techniques. If you don't want the charts, then you can hide your charts. Then I'm going to do I'm going to click a detail tab. So what I have at the top is a detail tab. On a click of this, I would expect a pop-up coming up. So you can see a pop-up coming up with my gross margins getting displayed. So the key difference you can see here is like on my radio button, which was my previous screen, you can only visualize one measure at a time. So either it's a gross margin or a discount. That gets refreshed in the screen. But in my details tab, in FP&A or super management wants to view different key figures measures, then they can click on the details tab and have a visualization by different KPIs. So for example, you have by gross margin, you have by discounts, you have by sold quantities, and also by different geographical locations. You do have a drill down functionality here, so I can drill down to any level 1, level 2 of it, which is a functionality again achieved with the scripting techniques. So let me close. Then again I have a button here to close the pop-up window. So this is again we need JavaScriptings to close those pop-ups. So in nutshell, the entire code is being developed in the JavaScripting techniques, and this is a very niche area where I would stress the SAP developers to focus on. Let's go back to the code what I have developed. So so this is my designer. So this is not something like your UX or UI designer. This is a simple designer where you would add your controls. So basically what I've done here is like you had a filter control. A filter has been added to the top. Then you have, again, when I go to the designer, you can see an indicator is added to the left. It's again part of your chart type. Then I have added a button. This is where on a click of this the pop-up windows open. Then I have added from the widgets, I've added my radio buttons, drop-down radio buttons into it, the checkboxes. A checkbox group has been added, and checkbox groups have the properties. So I've set some properties into it. So these are the properties I've set in the checkbox. One is called the table, the ID is called the table, and the other one is called the chart. Then I have added the list box, a drop down box with the IDs of the measures. Then I have a grid chart, or it's more like a grid, which I have inserted a table grid here, and adding those measures into it. I've added my measures and also my categories into it. Then I've added another chart, which could be a bar chart. In fact, you can make this chart different types of chart with an scripting. Probably I can give a list box, with a drop down box which is having a functionality to select either one of these components. That could be a good usability for the user. Then also you have a visualization tool, a simulator, how this would look in a layout of a laptop or in the iPads, Android devices or anything. It can fit into it. So this is, and I've also added some script variables. So let's go into the scripting. So let's go into the scripting. So let's click the checkbox script. So basically what is happening is we had two checkboxes, right? So one is for the table display and the chart display. So basically what I'm doing here is like I'm having a variable. In what we do in JavaScripting is if you want to set any variables, we name it as var and name the variable name, then the object name of it, and get selected key is the value getting retrieved from the checkbox. So basically what I'm doing is I'm putting a loop to find the length of it and say, okay, create an array of it and find out whether it's in a table or a chart. The reason of doing this into a loop is like if you add more controls to it, it can be more dynamic. So that's the idea behind doing into a loop. Then you have a drop down box where one was used for the product and one was for the location. So here I'm getting the same concept. I'm getting the get key selected, then whatever the dimensionalities which has been selected from the drop down has been assigned to my tables. So in my canvas, if you have this, what I'm trying to do here is basically what you select from this drop downs is being assigned. The values has been assigned to this table. You have two tables, so I'm assigning it to the tables, then to the chart. So it's getting assigned to the tables and the chart. Then I have the pop-up, because in my demo you would have seen a pop-up getting displayed as a, that's where the graph were coming up. So you need a pop-up. You just add those pop-up into the canvas. So that is something, when I click my button details, you had the pop-up coming up. So that's where the piece of code exists. You have this button too. That's where, this is a pop-up which was getting displayed, right? So on close of it, you have the action. At the moment, we just have on a button a couple of event handlers. I would be expecting with some more event handlers like on focus kind of things and further in SAC. So on click, because this is an activity, an event which is getting triggered on the click of the button. So I have the piece of code on click which would close this pop-up. And these are all my script variables. A script variable is basically used to store, to return a value. So that means you're storing in my drop down. What is happening is I've created a script variable, if you can see here. So the current dimension is my script variable. The reason creating those script variables is to hold the parameter value kind of a thing. So you're trying to hold the value which has been returned from the selection. Then all you need to do is, after writing the JavaScript, you need to go to the run option. And this is where we have the whole dynamic layouts, which is getting refreshed based on my selection. I've selected the product, so it's the data grid is getting refreshed by the product. And I click the details, you get a pop-up window. So you can see here it shows you different measures. So one is a gross margin, discounts, quantity sold. So ideally what you're visualizing here in the pop-up is like all the multi-dimensional measures, right? So in my previous one, I can visualize only one measure at a time. So that's a key advantage. I hope you enjoyed this demo. Stay tuned for the next